This is the Louie Tee Network.
In the lab room.
The views and opinions shared on this program are that of Louie Tee and In the Lab Room alone and should be taken exactly as they are given. If you are soft, easily offended, or can't listen to the criticism of your team, this program is not intended for you. This is pure, unadulterated football talk for the hardcore fan. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome, you are in the lab room. I am your host, Lou. Thank you for joining me here on this program, 2014 NFL Lab Reports. Today we're talking about the Jets, Jets, and the upcoming 2014 season. So, without any delay, let's talk about these Jets 2014 NFL Lab Reports. I've got to apologize. And look, I'll always be the first to admit when I'm wrong. I'll definitely boast and brag when I'm right. I can do that all day long. But I will also, in the same breath, tell you when I am wrong. And I admit, I was wrong last year. I said that this Jets team might have been the worst collection and assembly of talent that I've ever seen in my life. And I thought that this was, without a doubt, a 2 or 3 win team max. I said, if they got to 4 wins, they should throw a ticker tape parade for Rex Ryan last year. Well, not only did they get to 4 wins, they exceeded that and doubled that total and got to 8. Don't ask me how. That's why Rex Ryan is back, and he deserved to be back. I even said last year that I thought he should have been up for Coach of the Year honors because, again, that team does not have a lot of talent offensively. We'll talk about this defense, but offensively, that team is bad enough to lose football games, let alone win 8 of them. So let's talk about the strengths of this football team. And the first strength that I want to talk about and touch on with this Jets football team is ground and pound, the running game. This passing offense was so bad a season ago. It was so bad in ways you can't even fathom. And I'll get to that when we talk about weaknesses. But I just want you to visualize something. If you are that bad passing the football and teams know you can't pass the football and they start to load up the box and they start to kind of push the line of scrimmage and compact things up around the line of scrimmage, and you don't have a deep threat to threaten them deep, so they don't even need to have safeties 20 yards back off the line of scrimmage. Everybody's up close and personal to the line of scrimmage. For this Jets offense to be able to run the football the way they did speaks volumes about the offensive line and their ability to move guys against their will, and the fact that they had backs that were strong, that could make the first guy miss and power through arm tackles. This Jets offense was able to be 6th in the league in rush offense a season ago. And don't ask me how they did it again. When the pass offense is as bad as it was, for you to be able to tell teams, look, I can't pass, but I will run the football, and you still be able to do it. And teams know you can't pass, and they know you're going to have to run. And for you to still have the success that you had speaks, again, volumes about how good this team was up front in terms of run blocking and the ability to open up holes and have backs be able to break tackles and get yards after contact. This Jets rushing attack was the strength of their offense, and it was what kept them afloat despite their passing game being so suspect. You look at another strength of this football team, it's Nick Folk. Look, when you're a team that doesn't get in the end zone that often and you're not able to score a lot of points and your defense is going to have to carry you in some ball games, your field goal kicker is going to be of the utmost importance. And Nick Folk is the type of kicker that you can hitch a wagon to and say, hey, I need you today. I might have to come ask you for 5. Can you give me 5 field goals? Nick Folk is the type of kicker that says, hey, coach, I got you. And it doesn't matter where you need him from. If you need it from 55, you need it from 51, 47, 37, I got you. It doesn't matter. You call my number, I'll come out and I'll deliver. Nick Folk is that type of kicker. And the Jets have a good one. And he was able to help them out last season when they couldn't get into the end zone. He was good for 3 points. And it's always good to know that when you turn around and ask your kicker to cap off a drive that wasn't successful enough to get in the end zone, but still you're looking to get points, always good to know it's money in the bank when you can send a consistent field goal kicker out there to bang it home. And Nick Folk is exactly that for this New York Jets football team. They don't score a lot of points out in New York, and we'll talk about that in a second. So every point is precious, every point counts, and it's good to have a field goal kicker like Nick Folk who can bang it home and put 3 up on the scoreboard. And last but not least, you knew I had to save the best for last. Strength of this team and the backbone of this team is the defense. Rex Ryan is a defensive genius, and he comes from a long lineage of defensive geniuses. Starts with his dad, trickles its way down. His brother Rob isn't that bad at calling defenses either. And so this is a family rich with defensive tradition, and he does not disappoint. And this defense, say what you want, and I always say this about the Jets. Every time I talk about the Jets, I say the same exact thing. I sound like a broken record. You could probably take this and put it over something I said a year ago, 2 years ago. It would all sound the same. Say what you want about Rex Ryan. Say what you want about the Jets. This defense is good every single year. The pieces may change. He may not have as much talent as he may have had the year before, but he finds a way to get the most out of whatever he has on defense. And this defense was good. It wasn't great last season, but it was really good. It wasn't dominant. And I think it's going to take a dominant performance from this defense for them to make it to the postseason. But they were really good last year. The reason they weren't dominant is because of 2 things. One, they didn't lower teams' points per game down low enough. Look, this offense struggles to score. You're going to have to be borderline dominant. You're going to have to keep teams under 20 a game. That's a minimum. You have to do that for you to win if the offense is going to be anywhere as anemic as it was a season ago. And number 2, why you weren't dominant a season ago, you didn't get enough turnovers. You didn't generate enough turnovers. We'll talk about that a little bit later. So those are things that you need to improve upon. But as far as I'm concerned, this team was one of the best at stopping the run. 3.4 yards per carry given up. That is dental floss thin. They were one of the best teams at stopping the run in terms of yards per game. We're talking about yards for the entire season. They were among the best at all of those categories. You look at pass defense, they could have been better. They struggled at times defending the pass, but a 58.2% completion percentage will do teams in 9 times out of 10, not to mention an 85 passer rating. This defense got it done. They found ways to keep this team in ball games when it seemed like all might be lost. This defense is a strength, is the unquestioned backbone of this football team. And if this team is going to win, this defense is going to have to be dominant. And I think they already know that. So we move on from the strengths of this Jets team to the weaknesses. And there are going to be plenty of them. So you go to these weaknesses for the Jets football team, and I want to start with the turnover differential. Negative 14 in the turnover differential. That's not good. What can I say? What more can I say? That's not good. And you know who you're going to beat with a negative 14 turnover differential? Not going to beat many teams in this league doing that. You know who you're going to beat? Your goddamn self. Negative 14 in the turnover differential will get you beat every single day of the week. You cannot turn the football, especially when your offense is as special and as offensively challenged as this Jets team and offense is. You cannot afford to turn it over. And this was a double-edged sword. This was a twofold, two-sided problem, okay? The Jets didn't take care of the football on the offensive side of the football, and that's no secret, but they didn't generate turnovers either. And that leads us directly to our next weakness, forcing the issue. You got to force turnovers. The Jets forced a whopping 15 total turnovers, including only 2 recovered fumbles. That's asinine, okay? Just to give you some perspective as to how bad this was, the Jets had 15 total turnovers a season ago generated. That's it. The Kansas City Chiefs and the St. Louis Rams had 15 fumble recoveries by themselves. Okay? We're not even taking into account interceptions. Just fumble recoveries alone, Kansas City and St. Louis both had 15. The Jets had 15 total. Interceptions and fumble recoveries total on the season. So you got to be better. And again, with the way your offense turns it over, you've got to be able to offset their mishaps by creating some of your own. And again, we know what turnovers are in this league. The great equalizer. You want to level out the playing field, force turnovers, start forcing the issue. You look at another weakness of this team, scoring points. 18.1 points per game doesn't scare anybody. Oh, I'm shaking in my boots. Who is afraid of a team that's only putting up 18 points a game? That's not even 3 touchdowns, man. That's essentially 2 touchdowns and a field goal. Throw in a 2-point conversion if you like. So what you're telling me is that you're failing to score 20 on a consistent basis. I'm going to tell you what, up here in this league, it takes 21 points to win on a consistent basis. If you can hold teams under 20, you're going to win a lot of games because your offense is supposed to be able to score 3 touchdowns in any given game. Unfortunately for the Jets last season, 18 points per game was the best they could muster. And so you're going to have to score more points. And I'm putting some of the onus on this defense too. You got to go out and you got to perform as well. And special teams. Look, everybody's got to chip in. Okay, this team isn't good enough to just rely on the offense to put drives together and put touchdowns on the scoreboard. As you can see, 18 points per game means you're not scoring points. You're struggling to put points on the scoreboard. Everybody's got to chip in. Defense, you're going to have to take a couple to the house. Special teams, you're going to have to set them up with some great field position, maybe sprinkle in a return or 2 for a touchdown. Everybody's got to do their part. And last season, obviously, everyone didn't. You know the offense wasn't scoring. Defense, you didn't help out, and neither did you, special teams. Everybody's got to chip in. And now, last but not least, I saved, again, saving the best for last is what I do. This pass was an abomination. And it was so bad, I had to get my crack staff on the case to give me some hard, concrete numbers as to how bad this defense was. So I'm going to my crack staff, and they gave me a list of nonsense that the Jets did on offense as a passing offense, and I'm about to read them off. You got a Snickers? Because it's going to be a while. Let's go. Worst completion percentage in the entire National Football League at 55.4%. Now, this one, I can understand. Anytime you got a rookie quarterback, you've got to expect the completion percentage to come way down. Unless you've got an Andrew Luck or a Robert Griffin III or a Russell Wilson or one of these guys that comes in and is a quarterback prodigy right away. Generally speaking, the completion percentage is going to be under 60%. So no different for Geno Smith and the rest of these Jets quarterbacks that played a season ago. I'm not going to really hold that one against them, but it's still bad. Doesn't change the fact that that is horrendous. Just means that that's to be expected. We move on though. Second fewest yards total on the season passing for this Jets football team. I mean, it's bad. What more do you want me to say? It's bad. I'll continue on. second fewest yards passing per game. That kind of goes hand in hand with having the lowest total amount of yards, or second lowest in the league for the entire season. So you can pretty much extrapolate that over 16 games and you'll come out with the second lowest total per game. So you get where that one is going. Fewest passing TDs in the league, 13. That is probably the most backbreaking of all of these stats that I am giving and about to give to you. The fact that they're not scoring points. What am I about to say? You've been watching. What am I about to say? You know what I'm about to say. And I'm going to say it anyway. A wise man once told me, and I'm just passing knowledge on. Knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. Points come through the passing game in the National Football League. And if you can't score through the air, good luck. You're going to need it. And the Jets need all the luck that they can get, because 13 passing touchdowns, which was the fewest in the league by far, is terrible. Enough said. Third most interceptions thrown with 22. Again, Geno was special. Geno. Oh, Geno. Oh, no. Geno had his special moments last year. Remember that behind the back, no look, Harlem Globetrotters pass for a fumble? Oh, my God. Geno was so special last year. However, he was a rookie. You expected rookie mistakes. You got to let these guys learn, and he did that. So you expect the interception numbers to be pretty high. But the touchdown to interception ratio was way out of whack. 13 touchdowns, 22 interceptions. You're not going to win many ball games like that. So again, I ask you, how did this team win 8 games? You got to know that some things went their way and this defense played well enough to help them win, when I'm telling you all of these things they did poorly in the passing game. And I'm not done yet. You still chewing on that Snickers? I hope it's good. Sacked 47 times last season, and the quarterbacks were hit 98 times. So they were getting hit, they were getting sacked, they were getting beat up. And it wasn't all Geno. You know, Geno missed a few games and some other guys got to play. It is what it is. At the end of the day, got to protect the quarterback. And again, this isn't all on the offensive line, because when it's a rookie, things slow down. They process information slower. They find it harder to go through reads. They don't know what they're seeing on the defensive side of the football. These defensive coordinators are throwing all kinds of complex and exotic coverages and blitzes at them. They freeze up. You know, they see doubles. They think they see a guy open and they get scared. They see a flash of color. They pull the football down, run into sacks. Things happen. So when you've got young guys out there, this is to be expected. But this was on a grand scale. This is really bad. And then, worst quarterback rating in the NFL. Who didn't see that one coming? Again, when you struggle with all of those different categories and all of those things, what do you think is going to happen to your quarterback rating? And so, that was the train wreck known as the New York Jets passing game. Those are all of their weaknesses, things that they need to clean up if they're going to be better in 2014. We go from there to the camp battles of this New York Jets football team. As you can see behind me, I've got my big board, and it's going to help me out with camp battles as well as the experiment for this New York Jets football team. And we look at these camp battles, and for a team that went 8-8 a season ago, really not a lot of battles here. More of kind of trying to sort things out, per se, than actual battles and guys jockeying for positions. But we will discuss nonetheless. We start at the third quarterback position. Not backup, not starting. And I could have mentioned Geno Smith, Michael Vick here, but I really don't think it's a competition. The Jets want to give Geno Smith the opportunity to start, even if he doesn't perform as well as Michael Vick does throughout the preseason. And I don't think he will, because Michael Vick is a wily vet. He understands what it takes to get it done in this league. I expect him to perform better because I feel like he is the best option for the Jets at the quarterback position. And the Jets will figure that out. I just hope it's not too late when they do. But at some point, we will see Michael Vick on the field in 2014 as the starter of this Jets football team, whether it be via injury or bad play from Geno Smith, I can't answer that. I just know Michael Vick will be the starter at some point in 2014, but he is not going to start the season. I don't think this is a battle worth mentioning because Geno Smith is the unquestioned starter, I think, in New York. And then once they realize, okay, we're 1-3 and my job's in jeopardy, and I think that's when you'll see the change to Michael Vick, and then maybe the Jets can get things kicked off. Now they've got, look, I'll talk about that a little bit later. Chris Sims, Taj Boyd. All right. Here's a situation where you've got two scrambling quarterbacks, two mobile guys ahead on the depth chart in Geno Smith and Michael Vick, neither of which have played 16 games that often in their career. Geno Smith being a rookie last year, he didn't complete a 16-game set last season. And so you've got to expect injuries at some point. And because of the uncertainty at the first two positions, you got to keep a third quarterback. I don't think the Jets have the liberty to be able to say to themselves, we only need two quarterbacks on the roster. You got to keep three. So, and that third quarterback needs to be ready to play. And so because of that, I think Chris Sims holds the edge over Taj Boyd, a guy that they drafted in the 6th round out of Clemson. The way I feel is, hey, you already got two scrambling brothers. Why not add a third and keep it moving? And not that simple. You want to still have a chance to win, and the guy that probably gives you the best chance to win is Chris Sims. Barring injury or Chris Sims just throwing up all over himself throughout the preseason, I think it's his job to lose. He will be the third string quarterback. And again, Taj Boyd is a rookie. He can hit the practice squad. He doesn't have to be on this roster. He'll be around. I think he's going to end up being on the practice squad. So you go from there to the running back position. And I think the Jets want to keep 4 running backs. And here's why. They run the football. I talked about ground and pound. And when you run the football as much as the Jets do and rely on the running game, you're going to need guys to carry the load. And I don't know what you're expecting out of Chris Johnson. Let me run these backs down to you real quick. Chris Johnson, Chris Ivory, Bilal Powell, and Daryl Richardson are the 4 backs in question. They could keep 3. They could say, hey, we need an extra roster spot at cornerback. We need an extra roster spot at receiver. They could end up keeping an extra body at one of those other positions and cut bait here at running back. And no one would blink an eye at that. But, however, the Jets run the ball so much, and I don't know what you're expecting out of Chris Johnson. Let me just temper your expectations right now. I don't know if you'll ever see that guy that ran for 2,000 yards again. Just saying. I don't know if that guy's ever coming back. So I don't know what your expectations are for him, and you can let Chris Johnson sell you a dream if you want, but I think this guy is solid. I don't know if he's a dynamic back in this league anymore. If he gets in open space, he can still run with the best of them. But it's getting to that open space that I question with Chris Johnson any longer. And so Chris Johnson is going to be around. Chris Ivory is going to be around. Bilal Powell has been dealing with some injuries in camp. I don't know if he's back yet or not. I know at one point he was out. And that gave Daryl Richardson some opportunities, and he took advantage of it. And I actually liked Daryl Richardson when he was with the Rams. So he's a guy that can run the football. I think he's shown that he can carry the load in this league when he was with the Rams. And so I think he's got a realistic shot at making this roster. That's Daryl Richardson. And they like to run the football, do the New York Jets. And so it's no secret. They're going to hand the football to their backs. You need a stable of backs when you're going to have that many carries as a group. And so, Ivory has gotten hurt in the past. Chris Johnson is pretty durable. He'll be around. I already told you Bilal Powell is dealing with some injuries. So you might want to keep 4 just to be on the safe side. And I think that's what the Jets ultimately will do if they do not keep 4 backs. Unless Bilal Powell can't start the season, he's going to make the roster, and I think those will be your 3, Johnson, Ivory, and Powell. But if they keep 4, and I assume they will, I think all 4 of those guys will make this roster. You go on to the guard position, and it's 3 for 2. And we're talking about starting positions here at the guard, spots for this Jets football team along the offensive line. And the Jets are a team that I just talked about them wanting to run the football. They want athletic but big and beefy guys up front. And so at the guard spots, all 3 of these guys are making the roster, first and foremost. Let me say that. Neither one of these guys are in danger of not making this roster. With that being said, Willie Colon, Brian Winters, and Ode Abuche are your 3 guys in this discussion for starting at the guard positions. Now, Willie Colon and Brian Winters are your incumbent guards. They started last year at the guard positions. Now, O'Day Abuche was drafted out of the University of Virginia as a tackle last season. However, he's shown the ability to play the guard position, and I think that might be more of a natural fit for him because of his athleticism and his ability to move. And they've been impressed with that. So much so that they're thinking about potentially starting him at guard. Now, I don't know which one of these guys you might want to take out. Winters is younger. I think there's more upside there. Willie Colon is bigger and stronger and a wily veteran. If one of these guys were to be taken out of the offensive lineup as a guard, I think you would want to take Willie Colon out just because Willie Colon is a veteran. He provides depth and can play multiple positions along the offensive line. And you want to let the young guys play. Kind of let them see if they can gel together and become a cohesive unit. Winters, on the other hand, is a guy that can play center in both guard positions. And so he will provide you with depth as well if he's not starting. But I would say let the young boys play. Let them see if they can gel together and make some things happen. I'd say Winters and Abuche right now could be your starters day one. But right now, until he's unseated, Willie Colon is going to remain a starter as well as Brian Winters for the time being. Until things change, those two are your starters, and that's what I'm going to run with until the Jets tell me otherwise. You look at the cornerback position, and this has been a position of intrigue and one of concern as well for this Jets football team in camp. Here's why. There's been a slew of injuries. The depth of this football team at the cornerback position is being tested as we speak. You got 6 corners here that are going to make the roster, and let's run down this list. Now, there's 7 corners that I'm about to name. 6 of them are going to make this roster. D. Milliner, Demetri Patterson, Kyle Wilson, Dexter McDougal, Darren Walls, Ellis Lankster, and Razai Dowling. Now, D. Milliner, Demetri Patterson are your starters. Kyle Wilson is your nickel corner, so those 3 are your presumed starters. D. Milliner just injured an ankle, going to be out for a week or 2. So right now, he's not available for the next preseason, maybe 2 games in the foreseeable future. Dexter McDougal is a guy you drafted in the 3rd round out of the University of Maryland. I didn't like the pick. He came into the league injury prone and he got injured. He's going to miss the entire season. So you take him out of the mix. As a cornerback that is going to make this roster. And Darren Rawls is a guy that's probably going to be on this football team. Played last year for this Jets football team. I expect him to be back. Same thing with Ellis Lankster. And Razai Dowling started out camp well, has struggled over the last couple of weeks. He might have to make this team by default. So you're looking at a banged up group here with this Jets football team, and they're moving guys around. Antonio Allen has been asked to play some cornerback position, and so they're grasping at straws right now at the cornerback position. Now, D. Milliner will be back at some point, but in the meantime, Jets are really thin at the cornerback position. Wouldn't be surprised if they kept 6 corners and possibly went out to the streets and picked up a guy. I heard they're reaching out to Asante Samuel as we speak, so wouldn't be surprised if they added some more depth to this cornerback position because of them being somewhat thin with all of these injuries. You look at the safety position. It's a situation where it's 6 for 4. 6 guys for 4 roster spots. DeJuan Landry, Calvin Pryor, Antonio Allen, Jaquan Jarrett, Rontez Miles, and Josh Bush. Now, DeJuan Landry, starter. Calvin Pryor, you drafted him in the 1st round, starter. So those 2 are locks. Antonio Allen has been playing really good football, and I told you they're asking him to show some versatility and go over and play some corner. He's not going anywhere. And Jaquan Jarrett, I think, is another guy that has been performing extremely well in camp. He's been in this system for a couple of years now. He's comfortable. I think he's going to make this roster as well. Just want to throw out a couple of names, however, that have been performing well throughout camp. Rontez Miles was a guy that did really well in the inter-squad scrimmage, has played well in training camp. He's looking to try to bust up a roster spot and maybe get onto this football team. Same with Josh Bush. He's been coming on late in training camp. Still don't think those 2 are going to be able to do enough to make this roster. Now, an interesting side note, if Antonio Allen performs well enough to be considered a corner, he could either save this team a roster spot by playing corner and safety, or he could be looked upon as a corner, and that might free up another safety spot. Again, we don't know how this is going to shake out. We don't know how the Jets are going to maneuver this secondary, but there are a lot of question marks in this secondary right now. Calvin Pryor went down at one point, and what do hard hitters do? They get concussions sometimes. He got a concussion. He was out for a little while, about a week and a half ago, and this gave some of these other guys down here at the bottom some more reps. They took advantage of them. So we'll see if these guys can sneak their way onto this roster with this Jets football team. A lot of questions in this secondary, not enough answers at this point. We'll see if the Jets can get it together. If anybody can fix something that's broken on the defensive side of the football, it's Rex Ryan. Speaking of which, we're moving on to the experiment, which I have dubbed H-E-L-P, the Jets. The Jets definitely could use some help. We'll talk about that as we go through this experiment. But let's start with this research question. With Geno Smith at the helm and a still underwhelming offensive unit, can the Jets do enough to be more than just a roadblock in the AFC East? Jets messed up some stuff last year for some teams. I mean, they were straight playoff blocking the Miami Dolphins. Stopped them from going to the postseason, and they tried to throw a wrench in some teams' mixes last season, won some games down the stretch. So if you're the Jets, you don't want to just be the team that's a tough out. You know, oh man, Jets are tough. They're probably not going to beat you, but they're going to give you a run for your money. You're going to know you were in a football game. They're a tough unit. You know, they're going to hit you. They're going to make you work for everything you get, but at the end of the day, you're going to win the game. You don't want to be one of those teams in this league. You want to be more than that. You want to be a threat to do something tangible, be able to look up in the standings and say, hey, we're making some noise. And if you're going to do that, this offense is going to have to get it together, and this defense is going to have to be borderline dominant. And so we go on to the hypothesis. If this Jets defense remains potent under Rex Ryan and this offense can get out of its own way, then maybe, just maybe, the New York Jets can make the playoffs in the AFC. The AFC is wide open, and you know how this goes every year. A few teams come out, a few new teams go in, and 9-7 was good enough to get in last year. And for a while, it looked like 8-8 might be good enough to get in. And the Jets, they were knocking on the door. Nobody came and answered that door, but they were knocking nonetheless. And so if you're the Jets, why not us? Why can't we get hot? Why can't we win some games, play some defense, and at the end of the year, look up in the standings and say, hey, we got in through the back door. Nobody wants to play us because we play defense. The two things the Jets do well, they work in January, in February, in December. They can go on the road. They can play at home. It doesn't matter. They play defense and they run the football. You know, if you can pack a run game and some defense, you can go anywhere and travel in this league. So if the Jets can find a way to sneak into the postseason, they could be a dangerous football team. And that's all they're looking for. They just want a ticket to the dance. So we go to materials needed, and these are all things that they're going to need to get that ticket to the dance, get into that dance and be able to sit at that table and say, hey, we got in. And so first things first, lucky number 7. Geno Smith going to have to step up. And like I said, I don't expect Geno Smith to be your starter the entire season. Whomever it is, whether it's Geno Smith or it's Michael Vick, lucky number 7. And I still consider Michael Vick number 7 in my heart. All right. Even though he's wearing number 1, he's still number 7 to me. So whether it's Geno Smith donning the 7 or it's Vick having to come in and victimize some teams, whatever the case may be, the Jets need some luck from their quarterback position. Because with the receivers that you have and the skill guys that are around these quarterbacks, I could easily see this team struggling offensively. You're going to need your quarterbacks to step up, whomever it is, whether it's Geno Smith or it's Michael Vick. You're going to need some luck at the quarterback position, especially more so if it's Geno than if it's Michael Vick. Guard up. Guard up. If you're the Jets defense, you're going to have to guard up. Literally, you're going to have to be the backbone, the lifeline of this football team. You're going to have to get it done. I don't care if the offense turns it over 4 times in the game. You're going to have to find a way to get 5 turnovers and win. I don't care if the offense has done nothing all day. It's 3 and outs and punts. You're going to have to find a way to force turnovers. Till you force your own 3 and outs and punts. You're going to have to score a defensive touchdown, maybe 2. You're going to have to find a way to get it done. You're going to have to guard up. Look, I already told you. I don't know what to expect from this Jets offense. Neither do you. Only thing that I can tell you is that you're going to have to be the overriding consistent theme of the season. And that's this Jets defense getting it done week in and week out. You're going to have to stand up and be one of the best in the league if you're going to win and get to the postseason. And I think you already know that. So I'm going to say this one last time. It's game point. This Patriots got the ball. You better guard up. Start being greedy. Start being greedy if you are this Jets defense. Look, y'all been starving long enough now. Start being greedy. Let's keep it real, partner. This offense is real needy. You're going to need to force turnovers. You're going to have to force turnovers this year. I talked about the struggles of forcing turnovers last year. That can't continue this year. You're going to have to start being greedy. Yum, yum, eat them up. Yum, yum, eat them up. You're going to have to reach in, give me them cookies. Start forcing some fumbles. Stick your hand in that cookie jar. Come out with a few cookies. You're going to have to start forcing some turnovers via interceptions. Pressure usually generates turnovers. You had pressure last year. You got 41 sacks. That should have been enough to generate some more turnovers, but it wasn't. So what that means is guys that are getting to the quarterback going to have to start tomahawking trying to get that football out. Guys going to have to get that pressure, force some errant throws. You're going to have to get your hands on the football, pick it off. You got to start being greedy. Keep it real, partner. Your offense is real needy. They need the football in prime scoring field position. They need you to score points on the defensive side of the football. They need you to help. They can't help themselves all the time. You're going to have to help them. You're going to have to start being greedy. Ribs is touching. Don't make me wait. You're going to have to be greedy. Snatch the plate. Help! Help! If you're the Jets, you need help. You need help, and you need it in the worst way offensively. Everybody's got to chip in. Leave no stone unturned when it comes to this offense. Offensive line, you're going to have to protect the quarterback, whomever it is. And yeah, they can be loose cannons, especially Mike. Could be running around. You don't know where he's at. I don't care. Protect the quarterback. Open up rushing lanes. Quarterbacks, if receivers are open, you're going to have to hit them. Your receiving group is underwhelming. You're going to have to hit them. All right? You're going to have to hit some of these receivers, and you're going to have to put it on their chest. Some of these guys ain't going to be able to beat one-on-one coverage, and they ain't going to be able to create a lot of separation. Some of them got faulty hands. You're going to have to hit them right here in the chest plate. Make them catch the football. Force them to protect themselves. And receivers, you're going to have to do some things. You're going to have to win some matchups. You're going to have to create yards after the catch. You're going to have to make some things happen. Eric Decker, I'm talking to you. ED, need you to step up, man. They paid you a boatload of money. You're going to have to be the leader of this group and get it done. Tight ends, Jason Morrow, they drafted you to come in and ball out. You're struggling right now. It's okay. You're a rookie. All right? Again, I've learned how to taper my expectations for rookies. That being said, at some point, I need that light switch. I need it to come on. I need you to perform. They need big things out of you. Because again, this wide receiving core leaves a lot left to be desired. They're going to need you to step up. Cumberland, you know you're going to have to step up too, my man. Both of y'all at the tight end position going to have to step up. Running backs. Chris Ivory, you know I love you, dude. You know I love you. You're going to have to step up. Chris Johnson, CJ2K, I can't even call you that no more. You just Chris Johnson now. I need you to step up. Everybody's going to have to chip in and do their part offensively because this offense is not good enough individually to get it done. So everybody is going to have to help if this Jets offense is going to do anything in 2014. And curtain call. Last year, you saved Rex Ryan's job because he was going to get fired. At least I believe. I thought his time in New York was up. They got rid of you know, the whole general manager staff and all those guys prior to the season. John Idzik came in, and I said it's only a matter of time before he wants to get his own head coach in there. And then you guys went and won some games, and you saved Rex's job last year. And it was a nice scene. Woody Johnson came down to the locker room after Week 17's win against Miami in Miami. A very dominant performance, I might add. And it told the entire team that Rex was going to be back next year, and everybody went nuts. And it was a nice scene, man. I really I enjoyed that. Again, this was a bad team last year, and for you to win 8 games, I thought Rex Ryan did a magnificent job. So if you want to save this man's job again, remember, he's only back for 1 more year. He's still on the hot seat. Nothing's changed. Just the year on the calendar's changed. That's it. He's still on the hot seat. He still got to win. You want to save his job, and you don't want this to be his curtain call. You're going to have to go out and ball out this year. You're not just playing for yourself. You're not just playing for your job. You're playing for Rex's job too. And if you like this guy, if you love this man as your head coach, you better go ball out for him, because another 7-9, 8-8, 6-10 campaign, and I think that man's going to have to hit the bricks. So, and he's going to find work. He's going to land on his feet, because the man can coach defense. But you want him to be your coach. I'm not saying. I'm just saying. Don't make this his curtain call. Independent variable. Offense and turnovers. I've talked about this offense and how I expect them to struggle and how I don't expect a lot out of them. Now, if Mike gets in, if it's Michael Vick's show, and I think at some point it will be, I think this offense can do some things. I think this could be a scary football team. But with Geno back there, Geno, oh, Geno, oh, no. If Geno is in the game, things are going to happen, and usually they're not going to be good. So, offense is going to have to step up, and you're going to have to get turnovers on the defensive side of football. I've already talked about that. You're going to have to generate more turnovers. And that's the great equalizer. You want to level out the playing field? For whatever nonsense your offense is doing, get turnovers. And that takes us to our dependent variable, and that's wins. The offense, because I didn't name the defense in any of this. Again, if there was a control in this experiment, it'd be the defense, because I expect them to be really good and play at a high level. That's a given. I'm not worried about them. What's going to put this team over the top and determine wins and losses is how well the offense plays and if this defense is able to generate turnovers. Because they can play as good as they want and do a lot of the things that they did last year on the defensive side of football, stop the run, keep teams out of the end zone via the air, have a low completion percentage, keep the passer rating down. They can do all those things. Again, if they're and get sacks, they did that too. But if you're not generating turnovers and you're not scoring defensive touchdowns and you're not shortening the field for the offense, they need all the help they can get. You're not doing that, you're still going to see a minimal residual from what you're doing on the field defensively. And that's a shame, because you're going to play well enough to win some games. But this offense, they're questionable. You know that. So you're going to have to generate turnovers. And the wins are going to be predicated off of the offense and the amount of turnovers you're able to generate as a defense. Would be nice if special teams chipped in. That also would help. But in this league, how often does special teams really help you as far as from a returns game aspect? Many teams, you can look around the league and say, yeah, I didn't get anything from my special teams. What about you? So it'd be nice to get the special teams to chip in. All I ask is that the special teams don't do anything stupid. So you go from there to the constant, and it's Rex Ryan's defense. I've talked about this. Rex Ryan, I said it before, I'll say it again, and I'll continue to say it as long as he's the head coach in New York as the Jets head man. Say what you want about him. You know, say that he's brash and he's outspoken and he draws a lot of attention to himself and he's arrogant. Say what you want, you know. The guy gets it done on the defensive side of football. You hand this man table scraps and he's going to prepare a 5-star meal. You can get this man the toughest cut of steak, the toughest cut of meat you want. He's going to produce a filet mignon. And then he's going to slide you a nice glass of 1969 Chateau de Brion to go along with it. Yeah, where you get that from? I don't know. Stop asking. Just drink it. That's what Rex Ryan does on the defensive side of the football. He takes whatever you give him and he makes it work. and he makes those guys play good football. I guarantee you, you could take 7 of the 11 starters on their defense and put them elsewhere around the National Football League, and of the 7, 5 or 6 of them probably wouldn't even start, and the other guys would be obscure. And really, some of those guys wouldn't even be contributors, heavy contributors on their prospective teams around the league. But because Rex Ryan gets the most out of his players, those guys still would perform well for him. And maybe not anywhere else in the league. And that's what Rex Ryan does. His defense is always good. I could sit here and talk to you about their front three all day long. I swear I could talk to you, to my face, to your face, to everybody's face turns blue. All right? I swear I could sit here and talk about Harrison at the nose tackle position, Sheldon Richardson, and Muhammad Wilkerson. I could sit here and talk about those boys all day. All day. If we're talking defensive line of a 3-4 defense, nobody better in the business than those 3 up front. Give me Harrison, give me Richardson, give me Wilkerson all day long. They get it done. So, you say what you want about Rex Ryan, you say what you want about this Jets football team. Don't talk about the defense, though. Leave them out of the discussion. You go on to the conclusion. What does this all mean for this New York Jets football team? This offense, questionable. Big question mark. Don't know what they're going to do. I do know this much. This defense is going to keep this team in games. And I even have this defense helping them win a game or two that they have no business winning. That's what defense can do for you. How good are they going to be offensively? Who's going to step up at receiver? A lot of young guys out there. And I don't know. It's a lot of stuff going on at receiver. And I actually should have talked about receiver. I thought that I did talk about receiver, but I should have talked about receiver. And there's a lot of stuff going on at receiver, man. It's a lot of mess. A lot of young guys. You got the kid from the Raiders trying to make this squad as a return man. And I should have talked about the receiver position. I thought I had it up here. Somehow I managed to leave it off the list. Just know that you got a lot of stuff. You got a couple of 4th rounders, Shaq Evans and Jalen Saunders, who are struggling in camp. And you got a couple of veterans trying to sneak onto this roster. Just know guys are going to have to step up. When are you going to cut ties with Stephen Hill? I'm sick and tired of seeing him underachieve. He's starting to get on my nerves, by the way. You might keep 6. You could keep 7. I think you've got to keep at least 6 receivers. So that's an interesting. And Jacoby Ford is the guy that I was trying to think of. He's trying to make this roster as a return man, can help you stretch the field a little bit. Jeremy Curley and a couple of others you've got out there. I just don't know about this Jets football team. You know, you got a couple of guys that'll catch it. David Nelson will catch the football if you throw it to him. Eric Decker will catch the football if you throw it to him. Jeremy Curley will catch the football if you throw it to him. After those 3, though, I struggle with what you're going to do. You got a couple of young guys that probably have to make the roster as 4th round picks, and Jalen Saunders and Shaq Evans. So that's 5 receivers right there. And then you know you got to throw some other guys in the mix too. So we'll see who ends up making this roster. Greg Solis is another guy that's performing well in camp. Had a cup of tea with the Rams. Think that's a guy that you need to keep an eye on to try to make this roster as well. So I forgive me for omitting the receiver position. I definitely should have talked about it, but I just did. So all in all, receivers going to have to step up. Running backs going to have to step up. Everybody's going to have to step up and do their part for this Jets offense. This defense is going to put you in some positions to win some ball games. Will you be able to stay out of your own way enough to win and take advantage of some of these opportunities? I got this Jets team at 8-8. And I struggled. I was on the fence at 7-9, 8-8. And I gave them a game that I think they ultimately could lose. But you know what? I said, you know what? I think they can win that game. And so there are a couple of those on the schedule, you know. And I got you struggling within the division. And that's going to be the difference between you making the postseason and missing the postseason. If you're able to go 4-2 in your division, you're going to win 9 games, I think. If you're able to win 4 games, that means you're going to have to beat the Patriots once, and you're going to have to sweep somebody else and beat somebody else once. You know, or you could just sweep 2 teams and lose to the Patriots twice. Who wants to do that? I would much rather beat everybody else once. I would much rather beat everybody once and the Patriots and go 3-3 in the division than sweep somebody else and not beat the Patriots and still go 3-3. The Patriots, beating the Patriots means a lot. They're the measuring stick in this division. So I got you going 2-4 in the division, 8-8 overall. If you can find a way to go inverse of that divisional record and handle some family business and go 4-2, I think you can win 9 games. Really think you could win 9 games. So we'll see what the Jets have in store for the AFC East in 2014. But that's the Jets Lab Report. I thank you for joining me. If it happens in the National Football League, whether big or small, we cover it all here in the Lab Room. I thank you for joining me. Come back. Join me tomorrow when we'll be breaking down the next team up in the process. That being the Pittsburgh Steelers. Like the content? Want more? Sub up.